Welcome to Curse Breakers, where we leverage astrology to empower you. I'm Jacki Smith, and I'm here with my co-host and chief astrologer, Storm Cestavani. This show is sponsored by Coventry Creations, where they have magical solutions for your everyday issues. And hey, if you like this show, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all of the social medias. Oh, so let's get started and letting the stars lead you. Hi, Storm.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome to season 3.
Yes, season 3. This is starting to, I'm getting a deja vu moment.
We're just going to do a couple of shows.
Yeah.
Nope, you're going to do a lot of shows.
No, I'm getting a deja vu moment.
So if those who are listening, if you don't understand why we're getting a deja vu moment, Storm and I did for I don't know how many years, Keep It Magic. And that one was supposed to start out as just doing 10 shows. And then I was going to take over from there. And then we did 5 years?
6 years.
6 years. Thank you for having the better memory than I. We did 6 years of that. And then it was interesting. We both had the intuition that it was time to wrap it up. And we did. And then our lives changed crazily.
Absolutely. And also the other reason was that the platform that we were using at the time was very antiquated, and it was getting worse and worse by the season. And, although that I'm very happy that we had over 5 million downloads of our shows, I'm very happy about it. And I think that the last time that I checked, Jacki, when I was in that system, like you had me go download all the episodes like 2 years ago, and we were at like 7.1 million listens. So people are still listening to it. If you want to go search for Keep It Magic and listen to all those shows, you're more than willing. It's on Apple.
Right. Apple, Spotify. Actually, Podbean.
They're still there.
They're all still there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all still there. So, I mean, if you really are jonesing for some Storm and Jacki or Jacki and Storm or some magical stuff, I mean, it's a little dated, but the information, the magic is not dated. I mean, some of the information is dated in regards to the astrology that we talked about, but otherwise,
it's very pre-pandemic. So here's the big reality that I'm talking to folks about, whether it's business owners or humans, whatever. Our world so drastically changed in the pandemic. I mean, duh, right? Of course, it did. We all know that. But there was an expectation, like right around 22, there was an expectation of things getting back to normal. But there is no normal anymore. There was that normal.
That may be the new normal.
Then so there is no normal to get back to because we're forever changed. I mean, now we just started 25. So we're coming up on 5 years since the beginning of the pandemic that changed our lives forever. 5 years is a really long time.
In March, yeah. It is. And, one of the things that I was going through yesterday, because there's an aspect that's coming up that we're actually going to talk about, Jacki, which is the sun. It's actually not the sun in opposition to Pluto that I have written on here. It's the sun conjunct Pluto. But same thing. I mean, it's going to affect the same way. But it is a period in which I'm seeing that I'm questioning a lot of different things about myself and a lot of different things about my business. And I see a lot of, there's a lot of things that I cared about 10 years ago that I really just don't, they needed to GTFO, and they did. And now I'm focusing on more parts of even my identity, Jacki, that I don't even find useful. I will tell you, I've had a few experiences in the past 3 weeks in which people from the past, and I'm not talking about recent past or 2020. I'm talking 2013, 2010.
Wow.
And Mercury's not even retrograde. So, they're not crawling out of the woodwork because Mercury was retrograde. They're crawling out of the woodwork. I don't know why. Okay. But they're contacting me, messaging me, trying to find out if I would be interested in doing XYZ. I will tell you that, and because the fact that Pluto can be a little bit paranoid, okay, I'm like, why is this going on, and why is this going on now? And asking myself a lot of questions, and I don't have any answers to it yet, but I just find it very interesting because one of the things that, especially with a planet like Pluto, Jackie, our easiest mode of dealing with Pluto is usually first we will project it. Okay. Because it's a very, very tough planet. It has to do with things that we don't necessarily want to take on board. Most of us don't sit around and think about amputations and death and dying and transformation. I mean,
we avoid that thought. Yeah,
we want to think about transformation in this new age metaphysical, oh my God, my life is going to become a butterfly sort of way. But we don't want to think about transformation in that dark, alembic alchemical sort of way in which you're going through a lot of change and a lot of pain to get there. We don't want to think about it.
All right. So
we
in
project
this,
it.
we do. And in this episode, we're going to talk about two aspects that are coming up this week. So one is, and so our theme
it's
for this
conjunct Pluto.
Sun conjunct Pluto. So our theme for the show is transformation and communication under fire, rewriting our narrative. And so we have two things, which is the Sun conjunct Pluto on January 21st, and then Mercury opposed Mars retrograde. Great. Right. That's a mouthful. That's on January 23rd. So those days are going to come together and kind of spank us. But, before we jump into this, there's two things I was thinking about before we record this show. Because I was thinking about the solar eclipses. I think it was January of 2020, and how we're like, we don't know how this is going to play out.
Oh, you remember, Jackie, when I messaged you? I was doing an eclipse article for Coventry, and I messaged you, and I said, Jackie, I don't even know what to write about. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. This is worse than what I saw before 9/11, and how can it be worse than that?
Right. Right.
And you were like, Storm, well, what does it say? And I said, everything is about to freaking change, and I don't know why. I don't have an answer, but this is bad. Right.
And so when I was reading this, it was reminding me of, now, granted, I was not as knowledgeable about astrology then as I am now, because you have made sure that I know more.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, well, all right, whatever. How bad can it be? And I'm like, oh, that's how bad it can be. So as I'm reading this, it's reminding me of a lesser version, like a 1% version of that, going, Pluto's a bigger deal than a lot of people think about. I mean, you say Pluto and they're like, Disney? But no,
we don't talk about Pluto so much. We turned it into a dwarf planet.
But its impact is really big.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons that the layperson astrologer goes, well, Pluto, it's an outer planet. It doesn't really affect my day to day. But when it does, it does. Because tell me more about, remind me of like the qualities of Pluto.
Pluto has to do with the tearing down and the removal of everything that is no longer working or viable, that's past its sell-by date, that's no longer usable, in whatever planet that it touches or whatever house that it's going through. So say, for example, Jackie, it's going through, luckily it's going to be going through our fifth house. So, I mean, it's not a horrible place. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to be going through, both Jackie and I have Libra rising. So it's going to be going through our fifth house. It means everything that has to do with the fifth house, Jackie, our inner sense of individuality, our sense of play, what brings us pleasure, what brings us joy, what brings us recreation, is all of the things that we thought before. And I find it very, very fascinating because both of us are watching the Grey's Anatomy and Friends shows, which has to do with medical and has to do with this trauma in many sort of ways. But also underneath that, it has to do with the development of the individuality of the characters. So I find it fascinating that we're watching the same thing. And that's rare, by the way. It's not that we both wake up one day and decide we're going to watch Grey's Anatomy together. It's just rare.
And I'm so done with it. I mean, like,
yeah,
literally,
she's
I
done.
completed
I'm still,
it.
like on season 12 or something.
I know, you're only halfway through.
Yeah. So, when Pluto moves through the chart, Jacki, it slowly erodes and gets rid of everything that's not working in that facet of the chart.
Mm-hmm. So with Sun conjunct Pluto, so let's go just the little formula here. Sun, which is
our sense of identity.
Conjunct means
they're together, they're dancing together.
And then Pluto is
the tearing down of.
So our identity is playing with tearing down what we know to be true.
Well, it's not only the tearing down, but what Pluto is going to do is that Pluto is going to confront everything that is no longer workable within that sun. So think about it, Jacki, because this aspect happens once a year. Okay, the last time that it happened, it was also in Aquarius a couple of years ago. When it was going on, it was in a Capricorn. Okay, which is a whole different type of energy because it has to do with structures. Aquarius has to do with progress. How are we progressing? Okay, so with the sun, when Pluto and the sun are involved, Pluto will begin to say to the sun, look, this is no longer working. This part of you is no longer adding any form of value to your life. It's past its sell-by date. You need to, in some way, get rid of it and or transform it into something that is more workable for you. So what we're going to see, Jacki, especially in this upcoming week, now, of course, nothing happens where one day we're going to get smashed in the head. And, well, I mean, it may for one or two people. But, that they're going to get smashed in the head and they're going to suddenly say, aha, that's the moment. Okay. What you need to do is that you need to take note of the areas of your life that are currently being triggered and to ask yourself a lot of questions in regards to issues in regards to control and power, because that's usually how it comes up. Issues in regards to struggles. What are we fighting against? It's going to surface in relationships, and it's also going to surface in regards to professional settings, because those are the easiest areas, the areas of least resistance that it comes through.
Okay.
So take note of those.
So internal power struggles and external power struggles. So this happens on Tuesday, January 21st, but that doesn't mean it's only that day, correct?
Right. Well, that's the day where, like, for example, I would say starting the weekend before, okay, which is this coming weekend. So when people are listening to this, start listening immediately, start taking note of what's going on in your life. And I would say continuing through, Jacki, probably until like Thursday, Friday, just really make notes of where you're having struggles, where you're feeling that there's some form of conflict. What is not going the way that you want it to go? And what is it that you're feeling that you need to control? And let me add one more thing. What are you becoming paranoid about?
Yeah. Okay.
Pluto loves paranoia, loves it.
Right. So asking yourself, even journaling. I mean, this is a great time to journal because you're going to, if you mindfully journal, you will find out things about yourself during this time. Like where are you clinging to control? What are you not wanting to let go? And, wherever you're most terrified and paranoid is where you need to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
That's the clue.
It's the clue. And I would also, Jacki, pay attention to other people in your life that may be triggering you.
Right, because it's not just you. Everybody's going through this.
Everybody's going through this, but I would look at what's triggering you about them, because projection is very interesting, because usually when we project, okay, number one, it's usually something that's unconscious or something that's repressed within the personality that we don't find tasteful. Okay, our personality doesn't like it. So, for example, Jackie, you have the sun in Virgo. You like everything orderly. You like everything structured. You like things of that way. So, everything that is not that, you're going to tend to project. Okay, it's just natural. You're just going to tend to project it. So, you may attract
Where
towards you
are
a lot
my
of chaotic
answers?
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
The chaos people may walk around. Everybody around you will have a health problem. Literally. The issues in regards to you may be agitated with people feeling like that they're out of control. And what you have to do is you have to ask yourself, is this really from them? Or am I projecting my own sense and feeling of being out of control?
You know
And
what?
oftentimes, if you can pull back the projections, it will diffuse the situation.
Okay, I get that. And so here's where I'm excited about this. When I read the notes on what this means, and then I'm thinking about this magically in personal development, I'm actually looking forward to and have prepped some journal prompts for myself going, I really am looking to transform my thought process on some certain things that I'm stuck in. I'm really stuck in some things, and I'm stuck in some negative self-talk. I'm stuck in some fears. And so I'm looking at this going, you know what? I want to leverage this. I want to face these shadows. And that's kind of what that day is. And I'm going to update my journal prompts to start doing this over the weekend in preparation for this. But it's a big deal. And so I'm like, I'm kind of excited because if the sun conjunct Pluto, where we need to face our shadows, when you do what you've taught me, sir, is when you do that during the that astrological aspect, you can go deeper and it can be more of a profound change, bigger healing.
It can be more of a profound change. There's only one more thing that I'm going to add, Jackie, and it's kind of timely. There is going to be 49.2% of the population that is not going to be happy with the events that happen on Monday.
True.
And
okay.
rather than sitting in oh my God, I'm unhappy and this is a misery. And because whether it's a misery or not, it's what people are going to deal with for 4 years. And there's going to be 49.6% of the population that's going to be happy as a hog. Okay. Or 49.8, sorry, percent of the population that's going to be happier than a hog. Again, they also need to do the same thing. It's to sit down and look at where is it that you can use this particular energy to affect how you can change your personal world into a world that is more designed to your fitting. You can't necessarily affect except by going to the voting box and attempting to vote for somebody that is aligned with your ideals and beliefs, which I encourage everybody to do no matter who they vote for. But I think in regards to looking at if you're unhappy with a situation, I think that the first step for us to focus on is rather than, oh my God, the world is a misery and it's going to go to hell in a handbasket, is to sit back and to say, how can I begin to start to transform my life bit by bit so that it becomes what I want it to become? And I think that if enough people do that, because there is one magical force that's extremely powerful, which is called unity. And I think that the pathway forward is not external, Jackie. I think it's internal. Each time I know that I look at things from an external perspective, I get agitated and frustrated at everything that's going on.
Right.
But if I start to look at what can I change about myself, I start to find some form of peace of calm about it because I do have control over me.
Right. That's the only thing we really have control over. Actually, that's the only thing that magic really works on is ourselves. And then it cascades out to the rest of the world. So I find this really interesting. Just as one last thing is with what you said about, yes, on January 20th, the next president is being inaugurated. And so there's going to be reactions on both sides. And then the next day, we have to face our shadows. So I think that's a very interesting conjunction there.
That's why
timing.
I think that it's important that you record basically what your particular reaction, if you have one, to that particular event is, and then drill down. Jackie, you wrote a wonderful portion that, the two of us actually did a show about it on Keep It Magic, and then it ended up in the Coventry Magic book, which is the Why Is That formula. And I think that possibly that's one of the days in which I would drill down with whatever it is that somebody is feeling with the Why Is That formula.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a copy of Coventry Magic, of course, I do recommend everybody get one.
So, last thing, the sun, which is very personal, conjunct Pluto, which is very
collective. Yeah.
Collective. So you are going to be dealing with what's happening in the collective.
The reason that collective planets are so difficult, Jacki, to deal with, and all 3.5, okay, because there's Eris also. Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, Eris. The reason that they are so difficult is because they are not concerned with individuals at all. Their job...
Honey Badger doesn't care about you.
Yeah, Honey Badger does not care about you. Honey Badger is going to destroy you, okay? So when you're dealing with the collective, and I think that this is important, when you're dealing with the collective, it's really being cognizant that we can't change it except in our own individual ways, okay? And that's the way that we deal with and we deal with and integrate is the word that I want to use, these particular energies. And it's why I think that, focusing on the areas of your life or areas of your personality that just no longer work for you anymore. Mm-hmm. I will tell you, one of mine that no longer works for me is that I'm very, very patient with most things. Okay. I'm not real patient about my time, and I'm trying to work on that.
Well, that's the one thing you never get back.
Yeah.
There's only return on
and I
return
really
on investment.
Can't control that one because I only got so many ticks of the clock.
Right. Okay, so we have this January 21st, and then we spill over into January 23rd.
This is where it's going to get really interesting.
So you're still going to be in your feels,
right,
as you go into the 23rd, which is Thursday, which is Mercury opposes Mars retrograde.
Right.
Unpack that one for us.
Well, Mercury is communication, okay, mm-hmm. And it's our ability to understand the world around us. It's our ability to analyze and to process data. And Mars retrograde is currently in the sign of Cancer, which has to do with one sense of security and one sense of safety in the outer world. And when these two planets get together, it's an extremely discordant aspect for one, okay? It can lead to arguments in the blink of an eyeball, okay? And if so, especially with Mars being retrograde, because Mars retrograde is telling all of us, slow the hell on down.
Right.
You need to slow down. Things are moving too fast. We need to slow the hell on down. Everything doesn't have to be done, this morning. It may need to be done today, but it does not need to be done this morning. And there is this tendency basically for the mouth to take control and Mars to fuel the mouth.
Right.
So anything that you're holding on to, any form of anger, any form of issues, any form of resentment, any form of problems that have been stuffed and or stifled, okay, will come pouring out.
So remember, oppose is basically, think about fist against fist. You're fighting it.
Fisticuffs, yeah.
So you've got your communication, your need to communicate, the way you communicate, words in general, is, battling against the need to your security, your safety that needs to slow down. Your is it I am kind of thing.
The other thing about Mars retrograde is this. Mars normally, okay, when it's going direct, its job and its purpose is to go out into the world and get us what we want. when Mars is retrograde, we often feel that we are not able to go out and get what it is that we want, or that there is something that is stymieing us, or something that is blocking us,
You
or
said
those
a truth
blocks
there.
and those barriers are more noticeable than they were when Mars was direct. Okay, so then you have Mercury, which is our ability to communicate and our ability to understand what is going on out in the world. So add frustration, Jacki, to communication, and that gives you a clue of probably what we're going to be dealing with that day in many aspects. And if you're in the helping professions, you're probably going to get lots of calls.
So here, I want to talk about Mars retrograde for a second, because we've been talking
Sure.
about this since December.
Right.
And so how that's playing out in my world is this. I am never short of ideas. And I usually run through those ideas. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, we could do this. No, not that. We could do this. No, not that. So right now I have some ideas, and it's really forcing me to say, okay, what are the pros and cons? You don't work
That's
on your
good Mars retrograde. That's great for Mars retrograde.
This is not intuition driven right now. Everything is a lot slower. Like I'm trying to do a thing and it's taking me a lot longer to do it. Or the reason why it's taking me a lot longer to do it is I'm going, hang on, is this the right thing? I'm being forced. I mean, not even intuitively, because I'm like bingity bingity. I'm like a ping pong ball in the room going, all right, what are we going to do next? This is saying you're not a ping pong ball. You're a bowling ball. And you're going to slowly roll through different things to see what works and what doesn't. And analyzing different things, go, okay, no, that's not going to work. So this time is kind of like this process of elimination for me.
Right.
I'm eliminating the ideas that aren't going to work, and it's really forcing me to look deeper. So with the fact that Mercury is going to oppose Mars on Thursday,
they're
Mars
not going to get
retrograde,
along, right? Yeah.
I know that I'm going to need to start my day with meditation, just simple breathing meditation, and continue to do that throughout
and
the
a Klonopin.
So to me, I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, that vagus nerve is going to get so overstimulated.
Right.
Oh my goodness. So one of the things I was thinking about was, if you guys don't know what box breathing is, 10 box breaths can change your day. Box breathing is when you breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. That's one round. So if you do 10 rounds of that, at 5 rounds, you're going to go, oh, this is stupid. And then at 8 rounds, you're like, okay, I'm already there. And then at 10 rounds, you're like, okay, I feel different.
It's also one of the tools, Jacki, that they use in regards to arrhythmias, which I find interesting because we're dealing with Mars. Box breathing is very, it helps people that are going through an irregular heartbeat, okay, to switch back into a normal sinus rhythm.
Interesting. There's one other breathing technique I've been using a lot, which is something that calms down your vagus nerve. Now, your vagus nerve is the big nerve in your body. And then when that's stimulated, it feels like anxiety. And that can also feel like your heart is going pitter-pat in the wrong way. So I learned this in a class a couple months ago, and it's just taking that big breath in through the nose and then saying ha on the way out, just going ha. And I do that 5 times, and people look at me like, why are you sighing so much? And I'm like, well, I'm calming down my vagus nerve. It really is a sigh, like, but if you make that more of a purposeful ha, you can start to pull yourself out of a mild anxiety.
Right. The other thing, which may be a little bit too TMI, but if somebody is going through some very, very hyper anxiety or an uncontrolled irregular heartbeat, go force yourself to have a bowel movement. It does the same thing. It stimulates that pushing down. It's interesting. So, and of course my question is that what a woman is doing when she's giving birth to a child? Is she activating that vagus nerve?
No, it's a little more intense than that. giving birth to a child is not pooping. You might poop while doing it, but very, very different experience.
Now, one of the proactive things that you can do, Jacki, when Mercury is in opposition to Mars, is that if you've had over the past 3 to 4 months a conversation with somebody that went awry, it's also a good time to revisit if there's something that you may need to do to correct that situation in some form of way. Okay. One of the things that one of the things to do on that day in general is that if you do feel provoked, okay, take a breath. Okay.
Here's a tip. Here's a tip from your Aunt Jacki. You're in a difficult conversation. You think you're going to blow your top. Put your hand up, say, excuse me, just can we pause this for a second? I need to use the restroom, the facilities, the toilet, whatever you're going to say. And then that's when you go do a little box breathing, whether you have to go or not, whether you have to poop or pee or not, just that will give you that breath and that moment to be able to come back, because you're in a place of reaction. And so your amygdala is firing up.
Right. And the other thing that I suggest people do when they're going through that particular process also is when they're making statements, to use the word I feel in it as much as possible. And if you, sometimes it's difficult if you're in a heated situation, Jacki, for you to say I feel and then possibly an insightful character defect afterwards. Okay. For example, I feel, and it may be my sense of insecurity in this relationship that XYZ. Okay. But if you still just try to diffuse with I feel, that sometimes will help diffuse the situation from becoming more intense and help to provoke some form of clarity between two people.
In reflective listening. This is a day of reflective listening. So, Storm, what I heard you say is that you're going to use I feel statement to diffuse your tension. Do I have that right? Is there anything else you want to add? That was an active reflective listening, just so you know.
Right, and you see how it kind of diffused me.
but really, honestly, sometimes we don't hear what we say in a tense situation. So, and we're so busy building our response, like our monkey brain, the primal lizard brain is going, I'm going to get you for that one, let me tell you. So if you respond reflectively saying, okay, let me double check what I heard, because what I heard is this. Now, here's the interesting thing. What somebody says and what you hear can be worlds apart. And that's where I see this Mars opposing Mercury opposing Mars retrograde, had that backwards, is going to do. It's simple, therapy technique, to be honest with you.
Right. And that's the, if anything, this week is going to be a self-reflective therapeutic week.
If you choose it to be, or you're going to be raging. I mean, your choice.
I mean, it's going to be PMS on steroids if you don't deal with this internally in some form of way. And I think that with both aspects, Jacki, Sun, Pluto, and Mercury, Mars, they push us to rewrite old stories of how we may have responded or how we have reacted to things in the past in our relationships, our careers, our inner world, whatever area seems to be affected. And it allows us to begin to write new narratives, basically.
It's interesting that you say this, because I am writing the content. We're going to be doing some online classes about being magical and being witchy. I'm getting ready to do that, and I'm going through the content. And I really dug deep into your power in magic is driven by your perspective. And your perspective is built by the story you create from your experiences. Mm-hmm. So those past experiences might not be serving you or be empowering you. They might be pulling your power down, so that in a situation where you want to do an energetic shift, do magic, do a spell, the things that are limiting you, if you dig back into what your experience is with this situation and what's the story you built on it, which again gives you your perspective on it, you can actually create a bigger change. You can, like, for instance, let's say I'm arguing with my husband and he is, and I want to clear this air between us. I want to bring us back to a calmer place. And I'm going to light some candles for this. But I'm reacting to the interactions with my ex-husband. If I understand that I'm doing that, I can start to say, oh, that's not my experience right now. So instead of doing a tranquility affirmation candle, I go, you know what? I need the stability candle because I need a healing candle because I need to heal what's going on with me because it's really about me.
Right.
So you see how you can, so this is how you rewrite that narrative. You say, what is the repeating experience in my life, or what's the collection of experiences that's creating this narrative, this story that's really driving the bus, and they're driving the bus in a direction I don't want to go in.
Right. One of the things that I do, Jacki, in regards to candles is that I will often use the why is that formula on just candles and work through things.
Absolutely.
And when I'm writing down statements, right now I feel frustrated. Okay, frustrated. Immediately what I'm going to grab is curse breaker. Number two, why am I, why is that? Why is there the frustration? Because I don't feel heard. I may use either a Mercury candle or a tranquility candle, or whatever I have on hand usually, and then go down to what is the bottom thing, and that's usually the last candle that I burn, and I just start one day, one the next day, one the day after that, and then eventually they're all burning. But I start in this very progressed, layered sort of way. I love layered magic. Love it.
Well, me too. I have a little thing going on with layered magic. I'm writing in. So that I love how you can change your narrative by looking at where you want to be versus where you are.
Right.
So what's in the gap? How do you change that narrative, that messaging? Like, for instance, if you're like a money thing, you're always in the struggle. Well, the narrative you want, the story that you want to tell is that I'm not in struggle. I'm thriving with this and this and this. So then you look at what's the reverse gap of what's missing. What do I need to do to fill that versus it's so much easier to look backwards than it is forwards because you have so much more wisdom looking backwards. Right. So doing that reverse gap on that one.
Right. Reverse engineering in magic is important also.
That's the why is that. So right. How that works, P.S., real quick, how that works is that, and you touched upon it a little bit, but you say, here's my problem today. So my problem today is that I'm tired. I'm really tired. So maybe I'm just thinking I need an energy candle. Well, why is that? Well, I'm really confused and I lack clarity on what to do in my life. So I'm feeling very lost. Okay, so why are you feeling lost? Well, I'm feeling lost because I actually don't want to go in the direction I need to go in. Okay, that's really, it takes at least 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 times to say, why is that? And it's the first thing that pops into your head. You're not going to intellectualize it or rationalize it. It's going to be this primal reaction. And so sometimes your why is that, it's like, I'm feeling really tired. Why is that? Because the aliens. All right. Why is that? Oh, things feel so foreign to me, So you might get some really weirdo stuff in that process.
Right. I like the weirdo stuff sometimes.
It's all symbolism for what's going on inside.
Now, one of the things I would do if people don't have any idea where to start at all, okay, and that they want to work with magic, there's a couple of things I think that you can do. You can use, number one of the most powerful forms of magic is an affirmation. But another one would be, smoky quartz, hematite, and sodalite. Especially with these particular energies that are going on. And also, if you want to work with candles, the curse breaker candle and the home peace and serenity candle. I wanted to say Canada. I don't know why. Maybe they need some home peace and serenity.
Canada. Oh yeah, they do. They had what is it? Trudeau resigned.
Yeah,
A couple
yeah. So
weeks
they
ago.
need their own
They're a
home
little
peace and serenity.
love to you, my Canadians. Love to
Yes.
you. I'm very close to Canada. So are you, actually. We're
Yes.
both
Yeah.
very close
Yeah.
to Canada. So
We're
we love our Canadian friends.
yes.
I do like that. When things are just not working right, having a curse breaker candle lit or the spray, that's something to keep in your toolbox. That curse breaker, because it helps
Right.
you find your. It helps break that cycle. Oh, so good, so good. Well done, candle, for us. Pat on our backs.
Yes.
But the home blessing, happy home candle, that is how that works. It has rose and myrrh and frankincense in it. And so what that does is it actually calms what is troubling you. So like you think about like there's an electric static in the air.
Right.
And so what does it helps take that static out and then helps ground you. It helps you like reconnect with the earth. And grounding you is very much about not just reconnecting you with the earth, but reconnecting with yourself. You're the earth. So that's how that one works. You might like that one.
Yeah, it's definite. And we liked Curse Breaker so much we decided to name the show after it.
Well, it's because if you connect with your own
right
sun sign, your own personal power, then so many things that are bothering you or interfering with you, they start to fall away.
I think that oftentimes that when things are troubling somebody and they're going through difficulties and they feel cursed, okay, or they feel that things are not going their particular way, it's often that the sun is not shining enough. And I remember there's an episode of Grey's Anatomy in which one of the characters is telling another character who's very enshrined within her particular relationship with another doctor. And the character who is, the voice of reason character.
You must be talking about Christine.
Yeah, Christina. When she tells Meredith, I know that he's McDreamy, but you're the sun.
Yep.
Never forget that you're the sun. He's not the sun. You're the sun. And I think that is a broad thing for us to look at, is that no matter who you're involved with and no matter what your situation is, no matter what your problem is, no matter what your identity is, or the adjectives that you apply to your identity, okay, whether it be identifying through your relationship or your career or your children or your finances, whatever, that at the end of the day, those things may be McDreamy, but you're still the sun.
That's one of my favorite lines from that show, and they do play on that going forward. She pulls that out a couple of times, and I love that. It's so important that no matter, you can have the most amazing person in your life or you think is saving you from something or whatever, but don't forget, you are the sun. You're the center of your own life.
You're the only person that can use your own power.
Yep. So don't give it away.
Exactly. And that's what this whole that's what this whole upcoming week is going to be about, really, is reclaiming your own power, especially in a world that may feel powerless at the moment.
There's a saying, I actually have it on my wall: to get everything you want, you have to give up everything you have. And that's because, to remind me that of impermanence.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is permanent. And that we do this so many times in our life. We do this in our childhood. To become adults, we have to give up all those childish things to transform into the healthier version of you. You have to give up the bad habits. So this week is reminding us of that whole thing. It's about letting go, minding our words, and really digging into what it is that our power is and where that could potentially take us.
Well, and using it. Don't forget, use it.
And using it. using that power instead of sitting on it. I'm reading this book by Mitch Horowitz, and he is revisiting Think and Grow Rich. It's we've talked about that book in different shows. And I really like the way he's digging into it from a magical perspective. And one of the things he says that people miss in Think and Grow Rich is that Napoleon Hill says, okay, positive thinking is only powerful when you have an organized plan that you're working.
Right.
And so you can positive think all day long, but without an organized plan of action, all that is hopeful thinking. So
right.
it only becomes positive thinking when you put the actions behind it. Organized.
Right. It is. I think that the era of metaphysical thought that came around the days of Florence Scovel Shinn, in regards to, and I'm probably going to get a hate letter for this. I don't care. In this day and age, I live in IDGAF reality. I burn my Mars candle quite well, to the point that we changed the name of it.
It's coming up. Yeah.
But in her particular book, Jacki, it was her idea and thought philosophy about prosperity was, if you want to be a millionaire, you need to already spend like a millionaire. That would attract that particular energy to you. But it doesn't give any instruction on what you need to do after that. I mean, yeah, I can go out today, girl, and spend like a freaking millionaire at TJ Maxx if I want to. Okay,
yeah.
That does not mean that next month the credit card bill is not going to show up at my door.
Did she say spend like a millionaire or act like a millionaire?
She said you needed to act like a millionaire, but she goes on further in there about, spending money and all of this other stuff.
Okay.
It's a very,
yeah. So that's, I mean, I've read other people, and actually Napoleon Hill talks about that too. You know what millionaires do? You have to think about, what do a millionaire do?
They don't spend any money.
They don't spend money like they just won the lottery. What they do is they will contemplate, okay, we need a new car. What's the best car for this situation? I want a quality car that's going to last. I want something that's an investment. They don't go out and buy those new fancy boots. They say, okay, is that a quality pair of boots that's going to last me a long time? That's going to stay in style. It's going to be classic. So that's how they spend.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the nouveau riche, because the nouveau riche will buy the bling bling.
Right.
The fancy boots, but the true millionaires who built it step by step.
Well, where the disservice, I think, in regards to that statement is that a lot of people that are picking up those types of books, Jacki, without the quantifications that you just gave, okay, are going to literally think, okay, because, it's something people don't do a lot of. They read, they understand, they comprehend, they don't think about what's being said. So then they go and do this and then wonder why they're broke or why it's not working.
It's personal spiritual evolution is not a miracle. Miracles can happen from it, but doing it is not a miracle. It is work.
Right.
So magic can, doing this, it can become miraculous in your life. Like this, my life is so different. It feels like a miracle.
Right.
But really, getting something for nothing.
We all have a Mercury. Use it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? We have come to the end of our show.
Yes, we have.
So let's talk about how to listen to us more often. Tell us, Storm.
Well, basically, where you can listen to us is that you can listen to us on Podbean, you can listen to us on Spotify, you can listen to us on Apple Music, you can listen to us on YouTube, pretty much everywhere. You can even, check out our socials, and that they will have links, to the show when they go up, which will tell you where you can find us in a second. Also, we do have a calendar, which they can sign up for, which will be in the show notes. So if you just look at the show notes of the show, it will tell you where to sign up for the calendar. I noticed that it was recently put up on Threads also in the Coventry Creations Threads account.
I love having the astrology in my Google Calendar. And it's a Google Calendar that we created, but it'll go into your Yahoo Calendar. It'll go into your Outlook. Right. It's just like, I'm looking at what's going on. Like, I look at my schedule and go, oh, what's the astrology today? Oh, boom, there it is. It is a miraculous thing. Let's circle back to miracles.
I also recommend people, if you really want to get edgy and get some extra credit, Astro points. Is that at the end of the day, you look at the particular aspect and what it is that was put up and ask yourself, how did this apply to my day in some form of way? That helps you magic. One of the things, because I'm writing a class right now on planetary magic, one of the things that I talk about is attunement. And one of the things that you need to do in regards to evoking the energy of a planet is to, especially if you're doing some form of long-term magic, is to become attuned to it. And Jacki and I will talk about that, I'm sure, in a future episode at length. So
I love it.
And there's different ways to do attunements. So, but that way that I just mentioned is reflecting on how an energy came into your life is a way to do an attunement.
And our social medias, we're on most of the social medias, and Facebook, Instagram. Look for Curse Breakers, and you'll find us. We are on Instagram. Oh, and YouTube. That's our socials.
We're pretty much everywhere. So I mean,
let's look for us.
You'll find us somewhere,
right? And you can find me on Coventry Creations or Coventry Candles in all of the socials. It's easier to find Coventry than it is to find a Jacki Smith. So keep looking for Coventry. Send me your questions there, and send us your questions on the Curse Breaker social. We would love to hear from you and know what you really want to hear about.
Yeah, definitely.
And how do they find you, Storm?
They can find me pretty much everywhere at Storm Cestavani. I'm now even on Blue Sky, whatever that is. I'm having a hard time navigating through Blue Sky. It's a little bit odd, but
it's a lot. It's a lot of socials out there. So, we're going to go where you are.
Yeah, except for on Facebook. On Facebook, I'm facebook.com/astrogossip because I like to talk about astrology.
This has been a great show. Thank you.
Yes, it has.
I'm ready for this week.
We will be back next week. And then in the month of February, we're going to go to bi-weekly episodes just because Jacki and I need a little bit more time to do all the things that we do.
Right. Which is prepare amazing content for you.
Exactly. It's all about, doing content. So what do they need to do until they talk to us again, Jacki?
Well, my little tag, as always, keep it magic.
Yeah, speak life, everybody. We'll see you next week.